Okay, now you're going to learn something a little bit different. I want you to look at me run through a couple like kindergarten level problems. If you have 8 boys plus, because it relates to this stuff here. If you have 8 boys plus 3 boys, that's obviously 11 boys. Okay, I just put 11B. 2 girls plus 5 girls is 7 girls, 7G. Now, what happens if you try to say 3 boys plus 7 girls? Can you say 10B? No. Can you say 7 or 10G? No. That problem makes no sense. These are what we call non-like terms, NLT. Okay, non-like terms. So what you're going to get on this assignment is expressions with variables, but the problem is, normally I tell you to parenthesize the variable and empty it, but we didn't get a number for the variable. We don't on any of these problems. So what you do is you got to leave the variable in there, and you're going to simplify an expression with the variable. So know your operations again. That goes as follows: 5 and 4. The operation would be times, and then 4 and 2. We see the operation of plus. Okay, and that's good. I like pluses. Now, in the last assignment, what we were doing is we were adding, 4 and 2. But the problem is it's 4 plus 2x. Well, 2 doesn't have an x, or 2 has an x, 4 doesn't. Okay, those are, again, right here, when one number has an x and one number doesn't, those are called not NLT, not like terms. And that means you can't add these together. Well, what do? We're going to get to that. Okay. And then the same goes for this. I didn't give me anything for x, and what I was doing the other day was making my own line, putting 2 there, and then adding these 2 values together on top. But these are NLT as well, because the 8 has x and 4 doesn't. It's like trying to add boys and girls. Apples and oranges is the common saying. So what we're going to do here is simplify as much as possible the following expressions. So you see you have 11x plus 9x, and they didn't give you a value for x, so just forget parenthesizing the x's when they don't give you a value. So I got the 11, the operator's a plus, and then 9. Okay? Now you only have 2 numbers, 11 and 9. Well, x is obviously in this problem. That's the variable I was not able to replace, so I go blank x. And then since there are 2 x's, we just add the values in front of it. Okay, we just take 11 plus 9. The operator is plus, and these are like terms, okay, because they both have x's. The 11 has an x, the 9 has an x, so those are like terms, okay? So 11 plus 9 is 20. We can go ahead and add those, and 20x is the answer. Make sure you put 20x on, not just 20. Okay, 5 and 7, the operator, and there's a t's connected on both of them, variable t. So the operator between the 5 and the 7 is minus. So again, I don't like minus. I'm minusing a positive, so I go plus negative. Okay, so now I have 5t. The operator's plus, and negative 7t. Well, look at these. These are like terms. Okay, they both have t, so they can be added. Okay, so I'm going to kind of make these, I'm going to write add. Okay. So remember how we add on a number line. You start at 5, and then you're going to go 7 places to the left because you're adding a negative value of 7. So 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and that's negative 2. Negative 2, but you have to put the variable t behind it. Okay, and that's your answer. Okay, 5w to the second power plus 12w to the second power. So between the 5 and the 12, I see my operator. My operator is a plus. Okay, that's good. I like pluses. I have 5w to the second and 12w to the second. Okay, well, again, these are like terms. Okay, so we need to connect them and write the word add. 5 plus 12, there's no negative, so just do that in your head. That would be 17. And then you put the w to w, and you don't add the 2's. You want to keep it w to the second power. Okay, you just put what's behind both values if they're like terms, because they're going to have the same thing. Okay, next problem. Negative 4y to the second plus 9. So if we ignore the variables between the 4 and the 9, we have an operator of plus. That's good. So I have negative 4 and 9. Now they both have the y variable, and they both have the second power, so we need to give the go-ahead to add. Okay, so negative 4 plus 9. Okay, so number line. You're at negative 4, you're adding a positive, so we're going this way from negative 4. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 takes me to 5. And you just put y to the second power next to the 5. Okay. Next. Negative 7x minus 6 plus 4x plus 10. So ignore the variables for a second. But between the 7 and negative 7 and 6, we have a minus. Again, I don't like the operator minus. Okay, we're going to switch. We're minusing a positive, so it becomes plus negative. Okay, and the operator is now plus. Between the 6 and negative 6 and 4, there's a plus sign there. That's good. Between the 4 and the 10, there's a plus sign there, so that's good. So it's all plus signs now. However, are all of these like terms? No, some of them have x's, some of them do not. Like here, there's two terms, both had x's. Here, there's two terms, both had t's. Here, two terms, both had the w to the second power. Here, both have the y to the second power. However, here, not all these are like terms. Because if you look through them, they don't all have the same letter. Some of them have no letter, some of them do have a letter. So here's what we're going to do. What are the ones with the letter x? Okay, give me a letter in the problem. Let's go with x. I have negative 7 and 4. Okay, I'm going to make a little connection with those and write the word add. So because those both have x's, we add those together. So negative 7 plus 4. The addition has the commutative property. That means you can add in any order. It doesn't have to be this plus this, just right in order. You can add things in any order. Okay, so I start at negative 7, and I'm going to add positive 4. So here's negative 7, adding positive 4. 1, 2, 3, 4, and that takes me to negative 3. And you want to put the letter x behind it to tell your audience that, okay, those are the two that had the x. So those two have been added, and you need to cross them off once they're added. Now, what numbers don't have any letters at all? Okay, what numbers don't have any letters at all? Well, the negative 6 and the 10, those had no variable behind them. So I'm going to connect these and write the word add. Okay, so I'm going to start at negative 6. I'm adding a positive 10, so I'm starting at negative 6 and go right. Negative 6, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. And that takes me to 4. Now, where do you write 4? You just put plus after this negative 3x and then 4. Okay. And you're not going to put a letter after the 4 because neither of the add-ins right here, the terms you were adding, had a variable. Cross those out. And let's look at these. What are you going to do now? Nothing. One has an X, one doesn't. NLT, that means that's your answer. Okay? For crying out loud. All right. Anyway, next problem. 5 and 3 has a minus. I don't like minuses. Plus, negative. Now, you don't see a number here in front of the y. Well, you need to put something there. And if you see no number occupying the front of the y, and that's called a, by the way, this is called a coefficient, a number in front of a variable, it's a 1, okay? Put your own 1 in front of that y. If you see a letter without a number and you can't replace the letter, you need to put a 1 there. Okay, so we have a plus. Between here and here is a plus. I'm going to circle the pluses. Between here and here is a plus. Nice. Between here and here is a minus, so make it plus negative. And again, all we have is pluses. but you can only add certain things. So give me a letter. There's 2 letters, but give me one of them. It doesn't matter. Let's go with X. X comes first in the alphabet. Find your X's. Now connect those and write the word add. Okay? You're going to be starting at 3 and moving 6 to the left, because both those have the X's. Those are your like terms. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. That takes me to -3. And darn it, put X behind it. Or my bad. This was I messed up. That was a -3. We should have started at -3 and then went 6 left. I didn't see that negative there. So -3. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, -9. So -9 and put the X behind that sum. Cross those 2 terms out. Now there's another letter in here. It's a Y. But this is the only Y I have. So what we do is we write +1Y, because I cannot add that to anything. Then I have a 5 and a +4. You should know what that is. It's 9. So +9. Cross those out. And that's your sum. That has an X, that has a Y, that has nothing. That's NLT. All 3 of them are not like terms. LT means they are. Okay, next problem. Again, if you have a letter and you're not able to replace the letter because they don't give us any values for letters, that is a -1x. So between the -1 and 4 is plus, that's good. Between the 4 and the 8 is plus, that's good. Between the 8 and the 2 is plus, so it's all plus. Okay. All right. Only certain things you can add. That's how this is going to work. So give me a letter. X. All right. Find the X's. And we're going to connect those and write the word add, because I need to do -1 plus 2. So we start at -1 and go 2 to the right. That takes me to +1. So 1x, then cross those out. You got to tell your audience that those are X's. Plus, now give me another letter. Well, how about Y? Well, the only Y I have is 4Y. The 8 doesn't have a Y, so I just write 4Y and then 8. Okay, and all these again, NLT, and that stands for not like terms. Okay, we're not doing this one. Why? Because I don't want to. Okay, this is basically all you're doing. Okay, I mean, know your operator sign, and then find what you can add together. Okay, next thing, same idea on this next one. Between the okay, X, I would like a number. If I can't parenthesize the X, I need a number in front, so it's 1x. Okay, that's what X means, 1x. So between the 6 and the 1, we have a dot here because there's no operator. Between the 1 and the 10, we know we got plus. Now, what we have been doing, of course, is adding these two, but that is NLT, not like terms. So you can't add 1x and 10. Well, what do? Well, I guess if you can't add, you go to your multiplication. What you use is something called the distributive property. And what that means is I distribute the 6. You make these little rainbows. You distribute the 6 to the 1x and 6 to the 10. And what that means is we're going to take 6 times 1x. So write that down. 6.1x equals, we'll figure out what it equals in a moment. And then 6 times 10. You times them separately when they're not like terms in the middle. So how do you take 6 times 1x? Well, 6 times 1 is 6. And you just connect an x to your product. It's that simple. And then 6 times 10 is 60. So I have 6x, write that down, plus, you're always going to put a plus sign. Just always put plus sign. 60. And that has an x, that doesn't. That is NLT, so those cannot be added. That's your answer. Okay? All right, next problem. 5 and OW would need a number in front of it. So there's a plus there. In between here, there's no operator, so that's times. Now again, you'd like to add these, but again, that has a non-letter, that has a letter, so that's NLT, non-like terms, okay? So what you do is your distributive property, I'm going to put DP, and those are rainbows, 5 to 1W and 5 to 5. So you need to write those two multiplications down, 5 times 1W, 5 times 5. 5 times 1 is 5, and we just connect a W on it. 5 times 5 is 25. And all you do is write 5W plus 25. And again, these are non-like terms, so NLT. Okay, next problem. 10, no operator, so we have an operator of minus, but I don't have a number, so I put a 1. But I don't like the operator minus, so I make it plus, and that's negative. Okay, now I'd like to add 9 to negative 1, but 9 doesn't have an x, and 1 does, so that's NLT. So you got to go to your distributive property. So 10 times 9, and 10 times negative 1x. So 10 times 9 is 90. A positive times a negative is always a negative, and we know 10 times 1 is 10. Put the x on the product. And you just need to write 90 plus negative 10x. Just put a plus sign between these two terms. NLT, that's your answer. As soon as all your terms are NLT, you're done. Okay? I mean, like here, let me go back. These were like terms, so there we go. Two terms are like terms, two terms like terms, two terms like terms. Okay, when I have more than two, I just add the ones that are like terms, okay? And by the way, notice how these had no multiplying times operation. That's only with the parentheses. Okay, 16 and 7, that'd be times. Let's skip over. If that was just a 7 and a 6, that would be a plus. I like pluses. Okay, 7b and 6, NLT, because one has a letter, one doesn't. So I take 16 times 7b and 16 times 7. Or 16 times 6, my bad. Okay, that's a 6 right there, sorry. So I take 16 times 7, and that's 112, but you need to connect the b variable onto the product. Okay, 112b. 16 times 6 is 96. Okay? So that gives me 112b plus 96. Okay, 3. I have the minus operation between 3 and 8. That's, at least I know it, but I don't like minus, so I go plus negative. Since I was subtracting a positive, but I switched to plus negative. I skip the c. Between the negative 8 and 1.5 would be times. Okay. Once again, in that parentheses, we'd like to add. It's like order of operations, but that's NLT. So you got to go to your DP. So I will be taking 1 point, and it doesn't matter which one you do first. 1.5 times 3 and 1.5 times negative 8c. Okay. So 1.5 times 3 is 4.5. 1.5 times negative 8 is negative 12 with c behind it. And on this assignment, you feel free to use your calculator with that. So 4.5 plus negative 12c. And again, those are NLT. That's it. I mean, I'm down to two numbers, but and the operation's adding, but they're not like terms. Okay, once again, from here to here, the operation's multiplication. From 4 to 8, it's subtraction, but let's get a plus negative there. Okay, so again, I'd like to do the parentheses first, but I got NLT, so I come out here. So I take 1/4 times 4f and 1/4 times negative 8. Okay, if you need to use your calculator, go for it. 1 ABC4 times 4 is 1. Remember to put the f on that product. And 1/4 times -8. You know it's negative because you're taking a positive times a negative. And then 1 ABC4 times 8 is 2. Okay, so I have 1F. And now the operations plus -2. The operation between these two is always going to be plus, but these will be NLT. Okay. All right. Well, this one's not a hard one, but it does come up in your assignment. Here and here, times 0 and -8.5. And if I skip over the x between the -8.5 and the 10's a minus sign. But I don't like minus, so plus negative. Well, this is kind of a waste of time here because anytime I have a factor of 0 on the outside, the whole answer is 0. Okay? Because 0 times anything is 0. Whether you're taking it times a positive, taking it times a negative, it's 0. So I would get 0 on both these. Now I know one of them would have x, but that don't matter if it's 0. The whole product's 0. Okay, between 3/8 and 1/4, that would be a times. Between 1/4 and 5/6, that's a minus. I hate minuses, so plus negative. Now I'd like to add here, but again, 1/4 has x, 5/6 does not, so that's NLT. So you got to do your distributive property when you have non-like terms like that. Okay. So 3/8 times 1/4 x, remember to put the x there. And 3/8 times -5/6. We're just going to use a calculator for that. So 3ABC8 times 1ABC4. Get 3 over 32. You need to put an x on that product because one of the factors had x. Then 3/8, by the way, we know it's going to be negative because it's a positive times a negative. And then 3ABC8 times -5ABC6, and I get -5 over 16. So the operation between these two is adding, so 3 over 32x plus -5 over 16, but since that has x and that doesn't, that makes that NLT, non-like terms. Okay, really you're just doing the same thing. You'll have non-like terms in the parentheses. Know the operator, though. Okay, and then the last page. This says 2x plus 7. So the operator is plus, and then divided by 5. Now, if you remember before, I was always underlining, putting the 5 and trying to add those, but here's the problem. You got NLT. Now, what do you think you're going to do here? You can't really do the distributive property because there's no multiplication, there's no times operation. Okay, so the line means division. So here's what you're going to do. Circle the 2x and 5 and write out a division. So 2x goes first because that's the top number. It's got to go like that, divided by 5. The commutative property doesn't apply to division. You have to be precise in the order you write it. The top goes first, the bottom goes second. And then about the 7, circle the 7 with the 5. So that's like 7 divided by 5. So it's just like the distributive property, just its division. So 2 divided by 5 is 0.4, and you'll put an x on that quotient because one of the factors had an x. And then 7 divided by 5 is 1.4. And now you put a plus operation between the two quotients. But that has x, that does not, so NLT. When I end up with 2 that are NLT, that's how you know you have your answer. Okay, operator between these two is minus. I don't like minus, make it plus negative. And then the operator between each of these numbers and 3 is division. So I'd like to add these and put it over 3, but I can't. Those are NLT. Okay, so I do the same thing. I'm going to take 27 divided by 3, and I'm going to take the -9x divided by 3. So 27 divided by 3 equals 9. -9 divided by 3 equals -3 with x in front. Okay. put a plus sign between as your operator, but those are NLT, so that's your answer. Okay. Same thing applies on the next one. I would like to add the top, or the operator here's mine. Always know your operator before you do anything else. That'd be minus, so plus, negative, and that's a division operator. So I'd like to add these on top first, but again, NLT. So I need to divide each of them by 5 separately. So I'm going to take 25 divided by 5. That's what the line operation means. And negative 8x divided by 5. You got to remember to get the x on the values that have them. So that's 5. Negative 8 divided by 5 is negative. Well, it's negative. We know it's negative. Just take 8 divided by 5, 1.6. So I'm fine with decimals. Put an x on that. Okay, so put a plus sign. That's the operator you need to put. But that has an X, that doesn't. That's NLT. Again, if the operator's a plus, but you don't have any like terms you can add, then it's a no-go. Between here and here, okay? That's a minus, so that's your operator. It's going to start as minus, but we want to make it plus negative, okay? And again, I can't add those 22 and negative 2x because we have NLT. So 22 divided by 2. Go with that. And we're going to take negative 2x and divide it by 2. The x needs to be included, but it's not really hard. You take 22 divided by 2, that's 11. Negative 2 divided by 2, well, it's a negative divided by a positive, so it's negative. 2 divided by 2 is 1. And then all we do is put x on that. And we put a plus operator between them. So 11 plus negative 1x. All right, now the last thing I'm going to go, these problems here are just like these ones you did with the multiplication. Now, anytime you have a negative just sitting in front of parentheses, it needs a value to go with it. And the value you always use is 1. Okay, uno. So between negative 1 and 20, there's no operator that I see. So if I don't see an operator, it automatically is times. And between the 20 and we'd put a 1 in front of the D. And there's a plus operator. That's fine. I'm fine with plus. So we parentheses NLT. And now you're back to the distributive property rainbows. Okay. You can't add those, so we take them both. We still got to do the times negative 1, but you got to times them separately because they can't be combined. Negative 1 times 20 and negative 1 times 1D. Negative times a positive is a negative. 1 times 20 is 20. Negative times a positive is a negative. 1 times 1 is 1. And we just put a D on there. And the operator is plus. A lot of people don't know what operator to put. Negative 20 plus negative 1D. But again, those are not like terms. So you cannot add unless they're like terms. Even though it says, even though the operation's adding, those can't be added. It's impossible, so you just leave it. Okay, negative in front, you bet. There would be a multiplication operation, and there's a subtraction between the 9 and the 7, but we want to make it plus negative. Now, am I allowed to add 9 and negative 7c? Are those like terms? Nope. So you can't add, but you still got to multiply, so you need to multiply them separately. So negative 1 times 9 and negative 1 times negative 7c. That's negative 9. And that's negative times a negative is a positive 7 with c. Okay, and that's plus. So negative 9 plus 7c, but since they're NLT, don't add them. Only go to your number line if they would both have C's, or if they would both have nothing at all. Okay, once again, 1 between the negative 1 and 18, that's a times operation. And between the 18 and the 17, That's a minus, but I don't like minus, so it'd be plus, negative. Okay, 18A. Well, they both have letters at least. Are they NLT? Yeah, they are, because that has an A, that has a B. So they have different letters. Okay, so NLT again, not like terms. So negative 1 times 18A. And negative 1 times negative 17B. Okay, so negative times a positive is a negative. 1 times 18 is 18. You just put the A variable. Negative 1 times negative 17 is 17. They're both negative, so it's positive, and you put the B variable, and you put plus. So negative 18A plus 17B. Even though the operator's a plus, we can't add because they have different variable components. That is an A, that is a B. NLT. Now, if they both had A, they'd be like terms. Okay, next one, negative. Anytime we got a negative in front there, that's a 1. Again, and these variables, since we cannot replace them, they need values as coefficients in front. So I actually can see the number. That's a 1, and the end's a 1. So between negative 1 and negative 1 is no sign, so that's a times. Between these two, the operator's a plus. That's good. Between these two, the operator's a plus. Okay, so we got 3 terms here. That is an M, that is an N, and that is nothing. So they're all NLT. Okay, so we times each of them individually by that negative 1. So negative 1 times negative 1M, negative 1 times 1N, and negative 1 times 1. Okay, negative times negative is positive. Put that letter on your product. Negative times a positive is a negative. Put the N on your product. And negative times a positive is a negative 1. And there we go. So I got, and they all have the plus operation. So I got 1M plus negative 1N plus negative 1. All right, so I would say on that, kind of a long explanation, but it's very important that you understand what's going on.